Hello everyone! Today is a very exciting day. We have John and Steve on the couch with me for our very first talk show episode of Property Elevator. What happened next? Hello gentlemen.
Hello.
Hi, good to see you, Lizzie.
Good to see you too. So obviously it's our very first episode. John, are you excited to be here today?
Well, we're the first one, Steve.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Number one.
Exactly.
Well, we had
Number
to
one.
get Head Angel in first.
Quite
to
right,
start
too.
it all.
Quite right. So you say that to all of them, I'm sure. But anyway, that's absolutely right.
No, it's been 6 months now since we filmed.
I cannot believe it's done 6 months. And I always think, what have I done? What deals have I done in the last 6 months? What have I achieved? Mm-hmm. And what Steve achieved and what we've achieved together. And, it's a good marker.
Yeah, that's
good
what we're here
marker.
for, right?
Yeah,
To talk
absolutely,
about
yeah.
what exactly what happened next.
Yeah.
Now, we get a lot of people that write into us, and whenever I see people at events, they're always like, Lizzie, do these deals go through? What happens after? So I think this is very well needed, and I think a lot of people are going to be really happy to see these episodes come out.
Yeah.
Let's move straight on then. Let's go to your deal, Steve. You pitched to the Angels, and for the first time in any series, you had all six. It was five, wasn't it, actually, because Scott couldn't this time round. We switched his position as a lender this time, didn't we? You had all five of our Angels all
Scott would have done
want
it
to
if he
deal
could.
with you. Yeah, you would have. So you would have had six.
Yeah.
That's never happened before. We were all so happy for you. Tell me why you picked John.
Well,
Bear in mind, I'm here.
Bear that in mind. Yeah. As I said on the day, it was a really tough call. My main aim on the day, I remember clearly, was just to get one offer. One offer would have sufficed.
Yeah, you said that.
Yeah, it'd been really nice in regards to credibility. But to get everybody offering them and the negotiating, it was really great, and it's opened up so many doors. I think the main reason for picking John is because obviously he offered a lower percentage on the day, obviously with his wealth of experience, and I just felt that the dynamics between us would progress itself and lend itself to the next step in my property journey. So they were the main reasons.
Amazing. It's not all just about the money, is it? You've got to work with someone that you get on with, that you gel with, that you've got very similar values in business and personal as well.
And obviously we've had lots of meetings since then, and I think I can correctly say that, we work well together.
We work very well together. And that is so important. Likability is so important. And people who come on the show say, when you meet people, say, well, what is the main thing you're looking for? And it's as much you're investing in the person as you are the deal. And it's very important. Likability is so important. And, whether someone's going to offer you 40% share of the profit or 50% or 60%, actually, I'm not sure that's the most important point. The important point is track record and someone who's going to help you get it done, if that's possible.
Let's talk through the deal then. It was in the New Forest.
It was.
Just give us a brief explanation of what it was that you brought to the show.
So basically it was two buildings. At the front was a house which was changed to a commercial, and at the back was an industrial unit. And at the time, my plan was to go through permitted development and to convert the buildings into apartments.
Okay.
And several schemes had happened around that area. Then working with John and getting my own team together with architects, surveyors, planning consultants, we then took a different course, and we decided that maybe permitted development wasn't the right route on this occasion with this building, and that we would go through full planning, and also that we wouldn't do the conversion. So basically it would be a complete demolition, and instead of doing the apartments, we would create townhouses. So that would create a higher GDV. Obviously, there would be more costs involved, and the main disadvantage would be we'd be going into the ground, and we don't know what we're going to be experiencing there. But outweighing the risks and everything, it felt like a better scheme, and it would lend itself to fitting in with what was around locally. So my ideas on the day of filming for Property Elevator and where we are now, we've come round a complete and a different
Done like a
approach.
360 almost, haven't you?
More or less, yeah.
So
yeah.
how was the vendor then? Did you have to go back and renegotiate a price?
So I've been in contact with the vendor since then. I've had to explain to him that obviously it was subject to planning, and going down the full planning route, it would take a longer period of time.
Yeah.
So we've been working closely with the vendor. We've kept the price the same, but I as John outlined earlier, property is all about people. It's a people business. You've got to get on with people. I've built up a rapport with the vendor. He knows my plans, and we're hoping now to go down this different road. He's on board with everything that's going on. Subject to getting the full planning, then it will be the green light.
Great.
So hopefully we can still make that approach, and good things will happen.
Brilliant. So how far are you, John, with the planning?
Well, the planning's in, so hopefully we're here in next month, sort of 6-8 weeks. Hopefully, one thing I would say, even if you can do PD, we could have done PD with this deal.
Right.
It doesn't always mean you should, if there's other alternatives.
Yeah.
And the difficulty we had with this was that the front split into two houses or two flats or whatever. But the back, if you remember, was a bit of a strange looking building, sort of warehousey come whatever. And to convert that was so expensive.
Right.
And it will still look a bit of a pig in the poke, as we say. So actually we decided between us that actually let's clear the site. The ground conditions I think are okay. We've got a bit of demolition, of course we have. But of course with the option is we haven't got to do it.
Yeah. So you could get the planning, sell it
planning,
on.
Yeah.
We sell it on to someone else. We may not even own it for very long at all.
So what's the difference now in your profit if you're changing it from the original PD scheme to this full now planning scheme of
the difference
townhouses?
in profit isn't a huge amount, Steve, is it? Because at the end of the day, we're gonna if you do the whole development, you will spend a bit more, but you'll get more back. If you don't, if we just sell it on, I think it's much more attractive to sell it on to a builder with plan permission so they can get on with it immediately rather than the PD that was difficult. The biggest problem with the PD is at the back. It was very difficult to convert the back. Although you could do it, it's a warehousey sort of very poor building, very close to the front building.
Okay.
It just
so
didn't
maybe that
really,
curb appeal wasn't there for buyers.
That's a very good terminology, Lizzie. I think it didn't have the curve appeal, and that's really important. That's okay. And you've got to think, who's going to buy it? You've always got to think, who is the end user? And I don't think enough people think about that sometimes. And I call it making a deal fit.
Yeah.
So making the deal a better deal, make it more saleable is so important, because you always got to think, who am I going to sell it to? You may want to develop it, but another deal might come up that's better. Yeah. You may want to sell it. So all this business about I'm definitely going to develop it, I'm definitely going to keep them. It's all very well having these plans, but plans can change, and you need to be ready for those changes and know what to do if the market changes or your position changes, your situation changes.
Yeah, flexibility is super important.
Flexibility in a deal is really important. Yeah. And I think Steve appreciates that.
Yeah, no, and my main concern after talking with John and other people that are on the team is that I didn't want to see our development being the poor relative to the other developments that are nearby. So they had to be on a par, and by doing the demolition and starting from scratch, we would be on a par, or if not better, than what was already around there in the surroundings. So, like I say, there was only so much we could do. Our hands would have been held. And as John says, each development you have to take on its own merit. And in this case, the full planning, even though it's taking longer and it's a bit frustrating in regards to time, but it's the best route and it's the right route.
Absolutely. Yeah. So would you say that your experience of working with John so far on this deal has been a positive one?
Very much so. And I think the great thing about John, working with him, we both bring things to the table. Between us, we've got 75 years of experience in property.
Really?
I know, it's depressing.
I think John's got more of those years than myself.
I've got 65 years, haven't I? Yeah, you've got 10 now.
So we've got a wealth of experience between us, but we've both come into property from different angles. So obviously John has come in with from the development point of view. I've come in from serviced accommodation, HMOs, single lets, all that kind of thing. And we've now bringing that experience together to look at other projects, which we've looked at several since the filming, and also with my experience from being a school leader and looking at buildings, we're trying to do things together for the future where we can bring that experience together, and we're changing with the times. And I think it's something called market dynamism or something like that. My daughter told me this because she's doing GCSE business studies.
Oh,
so
interesting.
it's changing with the times, not sitting still. What works today?
We're not
might
dinosaurs,
not
are
work
we? We're not
yet.
dinosaurs.
Not yet.
We're not dinosaurs.
Well, you've said you're never going to retire as well, John,
What's the
right?
point? It's too much fun. It's too much fun. And I'm far too young for that anyway. One thing I would say is this. If you are going to get planning on a new build site, then there should be margin in it for you to sell it on, because a contractor who gets their hands dirty, digs the footings and everything else, will always develop that property cheaper than we can. So on that basis, you should always be able to sell on a development at a profit on the basis that someone else can do it cheaper than you can. So that's another angle. It's another reason why we don't do a lot of pure new build, because other developers who are hands-on can do it cheaper than we can. But that means there is a margin there for us. And that's really important.
Yeah, and that's an angle that you take quite a lot, isn't it, John? You love buying and selling and getting in and out as quick as you can, really. Yeah.
It doesn't always work.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's the best route, sometimes it isn't, so it's you've got to look at every deal on its merit. Very, very important. And Steve's done that, and Steve's really impressed me, the way he's gone about everything. It's very professional, very decent, very honest, and very humble. And you're only ever as good as your next deal. Whether you've lost money in the deal you've just done, and we've all done that, don't worry about that. The next deal is the important deal. Or you made a load of money, so what? The next deal is the important one, because you can come unstuck on the next deal if you don't concentrate hard and get it right.
Now, on the show, we always talk about how long-term relationships are developed, and we don't want it to just be a one-deal scenario. And you really want to work with people in the long term. You've just said then that there's possibly some other things in the pipeline. Can you give us any ideas on what they are?
Probably not, no, because never let your left hand know what your right hand's doing. But what I would say is we've looked at a number of other projects. Steve's got a really good idea of what he wants to do going forward, and I'm very happy to support that and advise him and work with him on that. And it's all about getting yourself organised first before you then launch into whatever you're going to launch into. And Steve can elaborate on that properly. It's his business, not mine.
Yeah. So by working with John, it's opened up a lot of doors. So he's opened up his black book for me. So I'm meeting people that I wouldn't normally meet. So for example, I'm meeting people from lenders, and I'm meeting the top guys. I'm not meeting the spotty teenager on the front desk kind of thing. So I'm having real powerful meetings, which is having a real impact on my business. Great. We're reevaluating my portfolio to move things forward. And even the program itself has opened doors for me. People are approaching me. I've had investors come into me because they've got the confidence that if 5 or 6 people are seeing the deal that I'm seeing, and I'm having that confirmation, and they're willing to put money into the deal, that's giving other people to lend their money to that, which is really good. I'm also having I've got a contractor who wants to work with me closely on any potential deals that we have together, and wants me to have a share in his business. So it's having that overall bigger picture. And again, going back to what I said earlier, it really is a people's business, and it's working with all these stakeholders and having those transferable skills that I had from my day job as a school leader. Because in that job I was working with governors, inspectors, parents, teachers, children, bringing the whole community together. The same thing is you're acting like a CEO with my business. I'm now taking it, ramping it up to the next level, and having the contractors, John, the inspectors, the planning consultant, the architect, the surveyor, and overseeing everything. And, it's really exciting and really interesting times.
You've really scaled up then.
Very much so.
Just in 6 months.
Yes. Yeah.
Imagine what 6 years it's going to be like.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? Scary.
Who knows?
Scary.
Yeah.
But it's really good. And like I say, myself and John, I think we work well together. And the other thing, we see things differently. So when we have looked at buildings, John is seeing it from one set of eyes, I'm seeing it from another, and he's opening things up where I wouldn't see things before.
Yep.
And obviously we're looking at buildings which cost a lot more money than what I would normally look at.
Yeah.
John looks at things like with grade 2 listed buildings, whereas before I would have dismissed that.
Yeah.
So it's seeing things now with a different pair of lenses, and the idea, the crux of it is seeing things that other people don't see, and seeing the potential that it can lead to.
Just shows how powerful as well, having good people around you, the environment that you create for yourself and for your business, and how quickly you can grow with the right things around you in place.
And it's all down to credibility about what people have done in the past, because I'm sure John will agree with me as well. There's a lot of Del boys in this game, as there is in any walk of life.
And girls.
And Del girls as well.
Less girls.
Less girls.
I'll tell you why there's less girls, because ladies are much more genuine than the men, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And when you go to these property events, and I always say to people, I speak at a number of property events, and I come away sometimes thinking, my God, these people are doing fantastic things. They're doing better than I am. What's going on? Some might be doing better than me, but not everyone, surely. But it's normally the men that exaggerate a little bit.
Right.
And it's always the ladies that are modest, humble. And, it's very important to be humble, because, as I said, you're only as good as your next deal. If the next deal is a bad one, you don't want to be shouting about it. Yeah. So even if you've done really well, be humble, be respectful. And that's what Steve is. He's humble, he's respectful. I've just put questions, ask the question to get the answer. The question is this, what is the answer to that? And it's very important, because that way you actually think, oh yeah, why am I doing that when I can just quickly do that and make some money, or the other way around.
Yeah.
So it's very, very important. But there are a lot of people out there, unfortunately, who shout about everything and make out they're doing fantastically well, and they probably aren't doing half as well as they make out. Yeah. Some are, of course they are.
Yeah.
But I just think no one listening to this should be put off by other people saying, I'm doing a lot better than you, because it probably isn't true. And even if it is, who bloody cares? At the end of the day, it's really important that you go along at the pace you're happy with, and the risk is relevant to everyone. So some people take bigger risks, some people want to take less risk. That's absolutely fine. Don't be pushed and bullied into doing things you don't want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's all about your own growth, right? You stay in your own lane.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And as long as you're doing better than who you were the day before, that's all that matters.
Absolutely. And also, we've got, obviously, Scott Marshall is the MD of Roma on the show, and they sponsor the show. And they've been, Scott, I mean, I do quite a lot of business with Scott. I think on Series 7, the way he explained every deal and what worked and what didn't work was so useful.
I totally
so good.
agree.
And I think that really helped the show no end. So well done to Roma, and I hate saying well done, Scott. But, actually, I thought he did a really, really good job on the show.
That was
really
the feedback that I got too. We had some really great comments about how well he explained everything.
Absolutely.
And the point of view is very different from an angel investor's
and it's a
point
different
of
angle.
view.
He looks at it from a risk angle for the person who's lending the money. And that's really important to understand that.
Yeah.
Because then if you can understand that, then you know what deals they will fund and what deals they won't fund.
Yeah.
And Scott is very positive. And if he can fund a deal, he'll fund it, and that's great. And, I think, I work with Scott quite a lot, and I think Steve will probably be working with Roma and Scott as well.
Yeah, great. Yeah. So for anybody listening, Steve, what advice would you give them if they're maybe thinking about applying for Series 8? Because we've got that coming next year in spring.
Yeah, definitely go for it. It's a matter of getting out of your comfort zone. It is very nerve-wracking. I do remember arriving at the studios on that morning thinking, what am I doing here?
Steve, can I just stop you there?
Yeah.
You're headmaster. You stood up in front of hundreds of kids every day saying...
Kids. I had to these are adults. There's a difference.
Is there?
Yeah. Talking to children.
What about speech day? I mean, you've done all that. You've done all that.
But it was nerve-wracking. But like I say, it's getting out of your comfort zone, believing in yourself, and obviously knowing the deal. And I think that was crucial in my pitch. Being prepared to answer all the questions and to be yourself. That's the key.
really
and not being too ambitious. Because we had one or two people on the show, haven't we, that come with some massive deal that none of the other angels could do, by the way, apart from me probably, but that's another story. I would say that, wouldn't I?
So modest as always, John.
I would say that, but actually, their first deal, my goodness.
Yeah, 20
there's being
million,
ambitious, there's being
Yeah.
too ambitious, I think. And I think that's important. That's a message as well, is try and, bring something that's worthwhile investing in. If it's too small, it's hardly worth our while, to be honest with you, the time we share the profit. So, Steve brought the ideal deal to us, really. We have a few options with it. It's in a good area. It wasn't overpriced. He got his figures right.
Yeah.
So important.
Yeah. Very important.
So important.
Well, thank you both very much
Thank
for
you.
being my first ever guests on
we,
the couch.
we're number one, aren't we, Steve? So, hey, why wouldn't we be number one?
Downhill all the
Why
way
wouldn't
after
we?
this. Downhill.
I
Yep.
wish you all the best with the deal.
No problem.
Can't wait to see it unfold
Yep.
more.
Thank you.
And thank you everybody for watching our very first episode of Property Elevator, What Happened Next. A huge thank you to our sponsors, Scott and all the team at Roma Finance. And we have one more very exciting announcement. You can now catch Series 7 streaming on Amazon Prime.
Fantastic news.
You excited about that?
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much, everyone, and we'll see you next time.